the first thing I saw was my stepsister's hand resting on my husband's chest. Not by accident, not in surprise, not in confusion. Like she belonged there. The music was still playing in the background of my own anniversary party. Our 5th year. Gold balloons floated near the ceiling. My mother stood by the kitchen island smiling at guests. My best friend, Tasha, was holding 2 glasses of wine, frozen mid-step. And my husband, Daniel, looked at me like I was the intruder. "I was going to tell you," he said. That was his first sentence. Not "I'm sorry." Not "this isn't what it looks like." Just, "I was going to tell you." My stepsister, Vanessa, tightened her red dress around her curves like she had just won a trophy. She didn't look ashamed. She looked relieved, like the secret had finally breathed. "You deserve someone who takes care of themselves, Emily," she said softly, fake concern dripping from her voice. "You've let yourself go." Let myself go. In front of our friends, in front of family. Over my body. My chest felt like someone had poured ice inside it. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break every glass in the room. Instead, I stood there, 32 years old, holding a tray of cupcakes I had baked from scratch, feeling 14 again. Invisible. If you're watching this right now, tell me where you're watching from. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Because that night, in my own house, I felt completely alone. But let me take you back. I'm Emily Carter, I'm 32 years old. I've always wanted one simple thing: to feel chosen. Not tolerated, not settled for, chosen. Daniel and I met when I was 25. I wasn't skinny, I was Instagram perfect, but I was confident, or at least I thought I was. He used to grab my waist and say, "I love that you're real." He loved my laugh, my cooking, my ambition. Back then, Vanessa wasn't around much. Vanessa is my stepfather's daughter. She moved in when I was 16 after her mom passed away. She's 3 years younger than me. Growing up, she was the golden girl. Long legs, perfect hair, tiny waist. Boys tripped over themselves for her. I was the smart one. Which is just a polite way of saying, not the pretty one. My mom never meant to compare us, but she did. "Vanessa looks like a model," she'd say. "Emily, you have such a kind heart." Kind heart. That phrase followed me my whole life. When Daniel proposed, Vanessa cried harder than I did. She hugged him tightly. Too tightly, I realize now. "You better treat my sister like a queen," she said. He smiled at her, in a way I didn't notice back then. After we got married, things changed slowly, quietly. Daniel started going to the gym more. He began following fitness models online. He'd suggest we eat clean, but would order burgers when I wasn't around. He bought Vanessa protein shakes for her birthday. "She's trying to build glutes," he said casually. Why did he know that? I ignored the tiny red flags because I loved him, because I believed love meant patience. Then came the comments. "Maybe you should try keto. Have you thought about waist training? You used to be more disciplined." He never called me ugly. He never said I was fat. He just said I could be better. And that hurt more. Vanessa started visiting more often. She'd wear tight outfits around the house. She'd accidentally sit too close to Daniel. I told myself I was insecure, paranoid. One night, I walked into the kitchen and they were laughing. His hand brushed her lower back. It lingered. When I confronted him, he said, "She's family, don't be weird." So I swallowed it. Until the night of our anniversary, when he didn't even try to deny it. "I can't keep pretending," Daniel said in front of everyone. "I'm not attracted to you anymore, Emily." The room went silent. I've been unhappy for a long time. Unhappy. Vanessa stepped forward like she was auditioning for a sympathy award. We didn't mean for it to happen. But they did. They meant every text, every late-night gym session, every look across the dinner table. I felt like my body had betrayed me, like my softness was a crime. "Are you leaving me?" I asked. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Daniel didn't hesitate. "Yes." 5 years, gone in one word. My mom started crying. My stepdad looked ashamed. Tasha muttered, "This is disgusting." But Vanessa, she looked victorious. Daniel grabbed a small suitcase he had apparently packed earlier. That's when it hit me. This wasn't spontaneous. This was planned. "You packed already," I whispered. He avoided my eyes. Vanessa walked toward the door with him. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said. Then why did she look so satisfied? They left together. In front of everyone. The door shut. The music was still playing. The cupcakes were still in my hands. I laughed. A broken, ugly laugh. Because in that moment, I realized something worse than being abandoned. I had been replaced. By my own stepsister. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the kitchen floor surrounded by half-empty wine glasses and crumpled napkins. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It was a screenshot. Daniel and Vanessa's, messages from months ago. And one line stood out. "She has no idea. Once the house is in my name, I'm done." The house. In his name. I stared at the screen, my tears drying instantly. What did he mean by that? And why would someone send me this now? I looked at the timestamp. 3 months ago. My heart began pounding. This wasn't just about my body. It was about something else. Something bigger. And I had a terrible feeling that I had only just seen the surface of the betrayal. The phone buzzed again. Another message. "You need to check the mortgage documents." My hands started shaking. What had Daniel done? And why did it feel like I was about to lose more than just my marriage? I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table until the sun came up, staring at the screenshot on my phone like it might suddenly rearrange itself into something less cruel. She has no idea. Once the house is in my name, I'm done. The house was supposed to be ours. When we bought it 3 years ago, I used most of my savings for the down payment. Daniel had just started his consulting job, and his credit wasn't great. I trusted him to handle the paperwork because he said he understood it better. Now I wondered if that trust had cost me everything. At 7:12 a.m., I called the bank. My voice was hoarse. "Hi, I just need to confirm the names listed on the mortgage for 1428 Maple Grove." There was a pause as the woman typed. Then she said it. "Primary owner is Daniel Harper. There is no co-owner listed." I felt like I was falling through the chair. "No," I whispered. "That's not right. It was supposed to be joint." "I'm sorry, ma'am. The documents we have show only his signature." Only his signature. I hung up before she could hear me break. So while I had been worrying about my waistline, he had been rewriting my life. The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was strategic. I thought back to the day we signed the papers. Daniel had slid a stack toward me and said, "Sign here, M. It's just standard stuff." I didn't read every line. Because I trusted my husband. Because that's what you do when you think you're building forever. Instead, I had signed myself out of my own home. By noon, Vanessa had already posted a photo. Her and Daniel, at the gym, smiling, caption, "Sometimes you have to choose happiness." The comments were brutal. "You look amazing together." "Upgrade." "Glow up energy." I wanted to throw my phone across the room. But something else caught my eye. Vanessa had tagged a real estate investment page I had never seen before. I clicked it, and my stomach dropped. Daniel had started a side LLC 6 months ago. Why hadn't he told me? I scrolled further. There it was. A property listing. My house. Not officially for sale yet, but coming soon. They were planning to flip it. Sell it. Walk away with the profit. And leave me with nothing. The humiliation from last night slowly shifted into something colder. Anger. Not loud anger, not screaming anger. Sharp, quiet anger. Tasha came over that afternoon. She didn't knock. She just used her spare key and walked in with coffee and fury in her eyes. "Tell me you're not sitting here blaming yourself," she said. I showed her the screenshot. Then I told her about the mortgage. Her jaw clenched. "Oh, this is not about your body, Emily. This is about money." I nodded slowly. All the gym talk, all the little comments, the emotional distance. It wasn't just about attraction fatting. It was about positioning. Vanessa had always been obsessed with status, with looking like she had won. And Daniel, he wanted fast success, easy money. Together, they were a perfect storm of greed. But here's what they didn't know. The down payment, it came from my grandmother's trust. And that trust had a clause. If marital assets were manipulated under deception, the contributing party could contest ownership. My grandmother had been many things, but foolish wasn't one of them. I had never paid attention to the legal language before. It had felt distant, irrelevant. Now it felt like oxygen. I drove straight to my mom's house that evening. Vanessa's car was in the driveway. Of course it was. I walked in without knocking. They were sitting at the kitchen table like nothing had happened, like last night hadn't detonated my life. Vanessa looked up first. "Oh," she said, pretending surprise. "You're here." Daniel wouldn't meet my eyes. My mom stood up immediately. "Emily, honey." "Did you know?" I asked her. Her face crumpled. I didn't know about the house. So she had known about the affair. Just not the financial betrayal. That hurt more than I expected. I looked at Daniel. "You put the mortgage in your name." He finally spoke. It made financial sense at the time. "For who?" He sighed like I was being dramatic. "You wouldn't understand the tax advantages." The audacity. Vanessa leaned back in her chair. "You're overreacting. It's just property." "Just property?" "It's my inheritance," I snapped. "My grandmother's money." That made Daniel look up. I saw it then. The flicker of calculation. "You signed," he said slowly. "Yes," I replied, "but I signed under the belief it was joint ownership." Silence. I pulled out my phone and placed the screenshot on the table. Vanessa's face lost color for half a second before she recovered. "You went through our private messages," she scoffed. "No," I said calmly. "Someone sent them to me." Daniel's head jerked toward her. "You said you deleted everything." She narrowed her eyes at him. "I did." That tiny crack between them felt like the first breath of fresh air I'd had in 24 hours. "You were going to wait until the title fully transferred, weren't you?" I asked. "Then divorce me, sell the house, split the profit." Daniel didn't answer. Vanessa stood up. "We love each other, that's what matters." I laughed. "You think this is love?" I looked at him. "Tell me, if she hadn't pushed you, would you have left?" He hesitated. That was my answer. Because here's the truth. Daniel didn't leave me because of my body. He left because Vanessa offered him ego, admiration, and shortcuts. And he thought I was too soft to fight back. But something had shifted inside me. For the first time in years, I wasn't shrinking. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't trying to be smaller so someone else could feel bigger. "I'll see you in court," I said. Vanessa laughed. "You don't have the backbone for that." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You're about to find out." That night, I contacted a lawyer. And what he told me changed everything. Because not only could I contest the house, there was something in Daniel's LLC filings that suggested fraud. Serious fraud. And if proven, he wouldn't just lose the house. He could lose everything. Now let me ask you something. What would you have done if you discovered your husband and stepsister weren't just cheating, but planning to financially erase you? Have you ever seen something like this happen in real life? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. Because what I uncovered next was something neither of them saw coming. I didn't cry when I met the lawyer. I expected to. I thought I'd walk into his office and collapse into the nearest chair, telling my story between sobs. But instead, I felt steady, focused, like my heart had been replaced with glass, clear and sharp. His name was Mark Reynolds, mid-40s, calm voice, the kind of man who didn't blink much. After reviewing the documents, he leaned back in his chair. "Emily," he said carefully, "your husband didn't just list himself as sole owner. He refinanced the property 6 months ago." The words didn't land right away. Refinanced. Yes, he pulled equity out of the home. My stomach dropped. How much? $240,000. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. "That's not possible," I whispered. "We never." "You didn't," Mark said gently. "He did." I gripped the arms of the chair. "Where did the money go?" Mark turned his laptop toward me. "Based on the paper trail, into his LLC, the same one that's connected to the real estate investment page." My mind flashed back to Vanessa tagging that account, her smug caption, the gym photo. This wasn't a spontaneous love story. It was a business plan. They had used my grandmother's money to leverage a refinance, to fund their new beginning. Mark continued, "Here, where it gets worse, there are inconsistencies in the income statements he provided to secure the refinance." Inconsistencies. He inflated your joint income. My chest tightened. "That's mortgage fraud," he said plainly. Fraud. The word echoed in my head. Daniel wasn't just careless. He was reckless. And Vanessa, she wasn't just a homewrecker. She was complicit. I drove home in silence, but this time the house didn't feel like a place I was losing. It felt like evidence. For the first time since the anniversary night, I stood in the living room and didn't see humiliation. I saw leverage. That evening, my mom called. "Vanessa says you're threatening legal action," she said nervously. "I'm not threatening," I replied. "I'm protecting myself." My mom sighed. "Sweetheart, maybe this doesn't need to get ugly." "Ugly," I laughed softly. "He stole from me, Mom." There was a pause. "I didn't raise you to be vindictive," she said. "And you didn't raise her to betray me either," I shot back. Silence. That silence told me everything. My mother had always tried to keep peace, even if it meant swallowing injustice. But I wasn't 16 anymore. I wasn't competing for scraps of approval. I hung up gently. That night, Daniel showed up. Alone. I almost didn't open the door, but curiosity won. He looked tired, less polished, his confidence slightly cracked. "We need to talk," he said. I crossed my arms. "About your fraud." His jaw tightened. "You went digging. You went stealing." He stepped inside, without waiting for permission. "I didn't steal anything," he snapped. "It's marital property." "You forged income statements." He froze. So he hadn't expected me to know that part. "You don't understand how business works," he said quickly. "I understand prison works," I replied. That landed. For a moment, I saw fear. Then anger. "You're blowing this out of proportion," he said. "Vanessa thinks." "I don't care what Vanessa thinks." He ran a hand through his hair. "We didn't mean for it to happen like this." There it was again. "Way. Not I. Way. You mean you didn't mean for me to find out before you secured the sale?" I asked quietly. His silence confirmed it. "You were going to divorce me after the house sold," I said. "Weren't you?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. My chest hurt, but not from sadness. From clarity. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. He looked at me then, really looked at me. "I did," he said, "but things changed." "No," I whispered. "You changed." He scoffed. "You stopped trying." Stopped trying. Because I gained 15 pounds. Because I worked late. Because I wasn't posting thirst traps online. I stepped closer. "You didn't leave because of my body," I said firmly. You left because you thought she was easier, more useful, more impressive. He didn't deny it. And now, I asked. He hesitated. Now things are complicated. Complicated. That word again. What happened? I pressed. He exhaled sharply. The refinance money, it didn't all go where it was supposed to. I stared at him. What does that mean? He looked toward the window, like someone might be listening. Vanessa invested part of it. In what? He swallowed. Crypto. I blinked. Unregulated offshore crypto. My heart dropped. Tell me you're joking. It was supposed to double in 3 months, he said defensively. Her friend had insider information. Of course he did. How much? I whispered. Almost all of it. The room spun. And it crashed. I stared at him. You're telling me you refinanced my house, committed fraud, handed the money to my stepsister for some shady crypto scheme, and lost it. He didn't answer. Because he didn't need to. The silence was louder than any confession. I stepped back slowly. So you didn't just plan to leave me, I said quietly. You gambled my inheritance. He tried to grab my hand. Listen. I pulled away. No. For the first time, he looked small. Not powerful, not confident. Small. Vanessa says you're overreacting, he muttered weakly. I laughed. Vanessa says a lot of things. Look, he said quickly, if you go to court, this could ruin both of us. I tilted my head. No, I corrected him. It will ruin you. That's when he said something that chilled me. She won't let that happen. I repeated. He swallowed. Vanessa's uncle, he's involved. I felt my stomach twist. Involved how? He helped structure the LLC. My pulse started racing. And he's not exactly clean. The room felt colder. What are you saying? Daniel stepped closer, lowering his voice. I'm saying if you push this, it won't just be lawyers calling. A threat. Subtle but clear. I looked at the man I married and realized something terrifying. I didn't know him at all. Are you threatening me? I asked calmly. I'm warning you, he said. Something inside me snapped. Not in anger. In resolve. You should leave, I said quietly. Emily. Get out. He hesitated. Then he walked toward the door. Before leaving, he turned back. You don't know who you're messing with. The door shut behind him. I stood there alone in the silence. But this time, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt awakened. Because if Vanessa's uncle was involved, if this wasn't just emotional betrayal, but something darker, then this wasn't just a divorce. It was a war. And the next morning, I received an anonymous email. Subject line. You're right to fight, but you're only seeing half of it. Attached were documents. Bank transfers. Fake contractor invoices. And one file labeled Vanessa Insurance Policy, PDF. My hands started shaking. Insurance policy. On who? I clicked it open. And what I saw made my blood run cold. The insurance policy was in my name. $2 million. Accidental death. Primary beneficiary, Daniel Harper. Secondary beneficiary, Vanessa Harper. Harper. She was already using his last name. My hands started trembling so badly, I had to sit down on the kitchen floor. The policy had been opened 8 months ago. 8 months. Back when Daniel had started insisting I take self-care trips alone. Back when he kept suggesting I drive out to that hiking trail 2 hours away. Back when he bought me a new car and joked about how unpredictable the brakes felt. I suddenly remembered something that didn't feel funny anymore. 2 months ago, my brakes had failed at a red light. It wasn't dramatic. I had been slowing down anyway. No crash, just a mechanic later saying, "Looks like someone tampered with the line." Daniel had blamed the dealership. Vanessa had said, "See, you need a man who handles things." My stomach twisted. I grabbed my phone and called Mark immediately. When I forwarded him the documents, there was a long silence on the other end. "Emily," he said slowly, "do not confront them." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. "Is this?" I couldn't finish the sentence. "It's suspicious," he replied carefully. "Very suspicious." "And the brakes? Do you have documentation?" "Yes." "Good," he said. "We're filing a protective order, and I'm contacting law enforcement." The word law enforcement made everything feel real in a way it hadn't before. This wasn't messy love. This wasn't petty betrayal. This was potential premeditation. Suddenly, Daniel's warning replayed in my head. "You don't know who you're messing with." He hadn't been protecting himself. He had been protecting them. That afternoon, I packed a small bag and went to Tasha's place. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anyone else. By evening, my phone started blowing up. Daniel. Vanessa. Even my stepdad. I ignored them. Then came the voicemail. Vanessa's voice, sweet and poisonous. "Emily, I don't know what you think you found, but you're spiraling. You always do this. You make yourself the victim. Nobody is trying to hurt you. You're not that important." Not that important. I saved the voicemail. Because that's what you do when you stop being naive. You document. You protect. You build boundaries. The police came 2 days later to ask questions. Quietly, professionally. I handed over everything: the refinance documents, the fraudulent income statements, the insurance policy, the brake repair receipt. Daniel was served papers the next morning. And that's when everything collapsed. Apparently, Vanessa's uncle, the not clean one, had been under investigation for financial crimes for over a year. The LLC Daniel created. It was tied to 3 other shell companies, already flagged by the IRS. They hadn't just used my house. They had used it as part of something bigger. Daniel called me that night, his voice shaking. "You went too far," he hissed. "No," I said calmly. "You did. You've destroyed everything." "You mean your crypto empire?" There was silence. Then something unexpected. "Vanessa says you're obsessed," he muttered weakly. I almost laughed. Obsessed. With staying alive. With protecting what was mine. "If I'm obsessed with anything," I said quietly, "it's survival." That's when his voice cracked. "She's leaving," he blurted out. I blinked. "What?" "She says I'm bad luck." The irony hit so hard I had to sit down. Vanessa, the woman who told him to choose happiness, was walking away now that the money was gone and federal investigators were involved. "She says you trapped me," he continued bitterly. "That you manipulated this." I shook my head slowly. "No," I said, "you trapped yourself." There was a long pause. Then softer, almost desperate, he said, "We can fix this." "Fix?" As if we were talking about a broken appliance. "You tried to insure me for $2 million, I said. He inhaled sharply. "It wasn't like that." "Then explain it." Silence. Because there was no explanation that didn't sound like motive. 2 weeks later, Vanessa moved out of my mom's house in the middle of the night. No goodbye, no apology. Her social media disappeared. Daniel's accounts went private. The investigation expanded. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. It wasn't easy. I started therapy. I had panic attacks at random moments. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3 a.m. convinced someone was outside. But slowly, something else began to grow inside me. Not fear. Strength. I realized something powerful. They didn't leave me because I was too big. They targeted me because they thought I was too small. Too soft, too forgiving, too easy to manipulate. They underestimated the quiet girl with the kind heart. My grandmother used to say, soft soil still holds strong roots. I understand that now. The house, still legally contested. But the court froze the sale. The refinance, under investigation. The insurance policy, flagged. And Daniel, alone. I saw him once in court. He looked thinner, stressed, smaller somehow. He tried to make eye contact. I didn't give it to him. Because closure doesn't always look like an apology. Sometimes it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it looks like walking away without shrinking. I've started rebuilding my life. New apartment. New job opportunity. New therapist who reminds me daily that my body is not a problem to solve. It's a home. And I'm finally learning to live in it without shame. So let me ask you something. Have you ever been betrayed by someone who tried to make you feel small, only to realize they were the ones lacking character? What would you have done if you found out the betrayal went deeper than cheating? Share your story in the comments. And if this story reminded you of your own strength, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Because sometimes the people who think you're weak are the ones who should be afraid of what happens when you stop staying quiet.